Hello again. This is Yosei, doing a dramatic reading of another One Angry Gamer article by Billy D. Animal Crossing New Horizons includes lesbian reference. Nintendo is going off the deep end fast, and they're quickly becoming degenerates of the worst kind, influencing kids with LGBTQIA+ agitprop. The most egregious example thus far is in Animal Crossing New Horizons, which includes a segment where Mary references a romantic comedy that includes two lesbian princesses! This is despite the fact that the game is rated E for everyone. The clip from the game was posted on Twitter by Baphomet on March 20th, 2020. I didn't expect lesbians to even be referenced, so this was nice. Let's watch the clip. If this website doesn't ass out again. I would have liked to perform the clip, but text scrolls by a bit too fast. Oh goodness, what a horrible story for children! And God, let's see, those names. While talking to Mary about comic books, you have the option of telling Mary which style of comics you enjoy. If you ask Mary about romantic comedy, she'll respond that she loves romantic comedies, especially one involving Princess of Rocketboarding and Princess of Explosions. Yes, two lesbian princesses!
My favorite's about the shred-tastic Princess of Rocketboarding and her true love, the Princess of Explosions.
Those names, like I was saying, you can tell that these aren't classy Sailor Neptune lesbians. These are big, out loud, fat, butch, leather and studs, motorbike riding, bull dykes. You can tell that from the name. Rocketboarding, explosions. God, can you imagine the tiara on that Princess of Explosions? It's just sickening. Let's see. As is typical of the mentally ill millennials that congregate on Twitter, they're praising Nintendo in the game for including lesbian references in a children's game. Now the typical centrist, trademark, will jump in and say, lesbians exist, why can't they be introduced to kids? And to that I say, well, why not introduce kids to BDSM, scat, and furry fetishes? Oh, you didn't know? That's right, lesbianism is a fetish! Just like furrydom! In fact, there's about as many lesbians in America as there are furries, according to Fur Science and the Washington Post. So does that mean we should be teaching kids about furries in every other media property? I mean, thus far, we've kept them far away from things like Robin Hood and Zootopia. We know what those properties do to children. Should we teach them about S&M? Or water sports? Well, the typical centrist trademark will say,
but lesbianism isn't about sexual fetishes.
Newsflash. The definition of homosexuality from the Merriam-Webster dictionary is erotic activity with another of the same sex, meaning sexual activity with the same sex. Let me repeat that. Lesbianism is classified by two women having sex with one another, and this was referenced in a game for kids, in a conversation about comic books.
I'm a huge comic fan. Whee! What kind of comics do you read?
Romantic comedy. Oh, who knew that she was laying the groundwork for such a trap? In the slurriest sense. What's more is that was the definition of homosexuality from back in 2008, a wiser time when Prop 8 was so delightfully passed. As of 2019, leftists have slightly modified the meaning of homosexuality to steer it away from having direct connotations to the sexual aspects of the act. Leftists are constantly trying to rewrite history and change definitions to fit their degenerate agenda. And their agenda, at this point, is to introduce as many kids as possible to their diseased lifestyle. They're trying to diddle the minds of little Timmy and Tiny Todd to convince them that drag culture is fine, and fondle the imagination of Minnie Jane and Small Sally to think that hooking up with one another is A-okay. He seems to really like that phrase, A-okay. It was in the last article too, wasn't it? Expect centrist trademark to keep defending this constant inching into children's media in order to finally legalize MAPs and hebephilia before moving on to legalizing pedophilia. Unfortunately, by the time people begin to push back against this degeneracy, it's going to be too late. Also, take note that every time they bring up lesbians in kids' media, like the movie Onward, they never talk about how lesbians have a higher than normal rate of domestic violence and spousal abuse, according to the CDC. In fact, even while trying to scrub the data, the NCADV noted that lesbian women make up a third of reported domestic abuse among intimate partner violence. In fact, a report from Milo Yiannopoulos from back in May of 2015 broke down the numbers and revealed that domestic abuse rates were much higher among lesbians than heterosexual couples. Many of the referenced PDFs and data reports have been removed from their host sites, including the NCADV, where many of the reference materials have been compartmentalized on their statistics page, but not the data highlighting lesbian abuse. The data was previously available on the Home Office Statistical Bulletin, but it, too, was also scrubbed. Thankfully, there's an archives of the stats from back in 2017, where on page 62 it reveals people who were lesbian, gay, or bisexual were more likely to have experienced any domestic abuse in the past year, compared with heterosexual, straight people, 13% compared with 5%. Those who responded do not know or do not want to answer in the question on sexual orientation were also more likely to have experienced any domestic abuse in the past year, compared with heterosexual, straight people, 7% compared with 5%. Table 3.07 and figure 3.2. It's almost like they're trying to hide how dangerous and abusive the LGBTQIA+ lifestyle is, all while trying to steer kids into that very same unhealthy and abusive lifestyle. As for Animal Crossing New Horizons, the game is converged. The English translation removed the male, female, or boy-girl pronouns during the character creation in order to accommodate the whims of mentally ill people who believe that gender is a social construct and that fictional states of being such as non-binary exist. Reality check. Non-binary people do not exist! Expect this insanity to continue on, because unfortunately, too many influencers are leftists, communists, and part of the bunghole Bolsheviks to warn the general public about what's going on. We've seen them invading other kids' media, such as Arthur and Clifford the Big Red Dog, and now they've taken over Animal Crossing. Just remember, we tried to warn you.
If you put le in front of a word, it does make it classy. Like lesbian, the classiest women of them all.